So actually, I want to ask you something else. So I was watching again this video with the guy from Habilitat, right? And so what really struck me is, him talking about the bomb exploding and he drove the car and, it's just like a mess. And so you're kind of cleaning all that up and your quick taps and let it go, whatever. But then you say something which I think it's really actually quite brilliant. And it's about you were trained to do this. This was your job. Mm-hmm. And I found that piece was actually... to me, I mean, you're not even trying to hypnotize him. I mean, this is true, and you're trying to hypnotize him. But also, you are kind of reframing his entire world. And I found that very powerful. Because he's now realizing, yes, I was actually trained to do that. I didn't kill anybody. I was told to do that. I was paid to do that. I volunteered to do that. Yeah, this is what my country does. And you have to kind of normalize what people do sometimes so they realize it's not my personal responsibility that I've done that. That's just how life is. And I just wanted to tell you, Robert, I found that piece, and you do that actually all the time. And I always listen to that. And I find that actually quite brilliant because when people are in that state, when they're very vulnerable and the emotions are very high and whatever you say really sticks to their mind, and if you say something that would actually reframe that whole world for them about their actions or what happened, whatever, I think this is a mastery, honestly. So
thank you.
I just wanted to say that.
Oh.
Thank you.
Good, there was no question.
Okay, the question is, how do you do that? Like what, I know when I talk to the people, it just kind of comes to me what needs to be said, but how do you do this? Like, what do you know? Where does it come from for you to say something like this to that man? Mm-hmm. Like, where do you pull that resources? You're a man, you know what men do. They do what they're told in the army, you know, whatever your background is, and this is what the man is, and this is what a man does, and so I know that script. Yeah. But, like, where do you pull this stuff?
Well, that's a good question there.
I knew it. Sorry.
All right, so here's what I do. First of all, I know when somebody comes to see me and they're in an emotional mess, all right, there are some ground rules that I operate from logically. First of all, life happens, all right? You look at someone like this guy, you had to put everything back to normalcy. We look at food, why am I so fat? And it's because you ate food. All right. Why do you eat food? Well, beyond your hunger level, because you've been emotionally conditioned that food equals love, food protects you, etc. So where's the logic at? Well, food's just food, and you're using food to escape your emotions and to hide. So there's a logic there. So when people come in, I know the logic. So here he is. He's a military guy. He is, and you have to put everything in what you call the ground rules. The ground rules are, he's from a different country. He goes to another country. He's trained to do a job, and he does his job, and he goes home. Those are the ground rules. But for some people, they take luggage with them. They pick up ideas and concepts that aren't healthy. You take a child who's been sexually abused. All right? Unfortunately, this stuff happens. So what are the ground rules with sexual abuse? You've been beaten, you're raped, you're traumatized, your parents didn't treat you well. What are the ground rules? You have to have an understanding that life happens, and what are you going to do with it? Unfortunately, a child is abused. Now, if you look at it basically, well, they're being educated, unfortunately. They're being traumatized and they're being hurt. So what are the ground rules? It happened. It's not happening anymore. Let's release the pain of it. It was an education, unfortunately. You're too early for it. But we're going to have to put it in its place. All right? It's done. It's over with. It doesn't exist anymore. Forgive yourself. Forgive whoever did it. Move on. That is the ground rule. So if you come from a place, and I had to logically think about these things. You look at my logic about grief and loss. People die. Get over it. You're going to die. Get over it. If you're grieving, who's doing the grieving? You. What are you doing? You're self-punishing. You're guilting yourself. You're blaming yourself. You're feeling lonely and creating loneliness. Are you thinking about all the good things that happened? No, you're thinking about all the bad things and feeling sorry for yourself. Stop it. I mean, so I have to come from a logical place, a practical place, and what causes problems is our emotional distortions, our own personal guilt. So I have to look at it from, I say, from above. And then when you understand the system, then it's easy to be logical. It's just something that happens. What are you going to do with it? Move on. Make peace with yourself and move on. So that's how I think, you know. And so, of course, when you look at my trainings, and obviously you've been here maybe a few times, when you look at my trainings, it has to come from a system that you can bank on, that you can trust, which is, this happens, what you going to do with it? So that's how I do it. I have to think about things. You know, we look at religion. I look at religion the same way. You know, I look at everything because where's the truth, the real truth behind it all? And then clean up the mess that's on top of it. So I guess that's how I do it. Of course, you're right. It is truly amazing, and it just comes out. But it had to come out because of my understandings about life. And I think this is the real key. It's about how you see life. You know, so that's a good question. All right.